Stop spending money to feel like you're in America and start spending money to actually convert. This is the first thing I always tell founders when I get on a call and we're talking about go-to-market strategies for the North American market.
Yeah.
Why?
Why?
Because it goes back to a prior episode, what we kind of talked about, but there's a real tendency for founders to look at tactics as being the strategy. And what does that mean? Doing a Google LinkedIn ad campaign, doing social media marketing, putting out an ad in Times Square, doing a PR piece. These are tactics that make up a strategy. Some are right, some are wrong, some are later, some are earlier, but that's what they are. And when you just kind of spend that money and you feel like, oh yeah, I'm doing stuff because I have
Look
a
at
big
this,
budget.
I've got impressions.
Yeah, exactly. And I have a big budget and my board has to approve it and all this stuff. It doesn't mean you're actually moving the needle. It means that you're spending a lot of money needlessly. Now, I want to know from your perspective, son, when you're talking to founders and they come to you with tactical asks and not strategic asks, do you work with them on that, or is it dependent on kind of your own understanding of their space?
I'm trying to your point, I'm trying to set expectations and at the same time to understand if they realize what the implications can be.
Sure.
I'm trying to see, okay, you want to run campaigns, you got a few ideas, which is the tactics.
Sure.
Yeah. How do we build an engine in the American market that is smart, data driven, and potentially doesn't burn runway, right? And that's the goal. So my approach would be, let's find signals over spend. Okay.
I like that.
Can we do different things just to,
What do you mean when you say signals, by the way? Like what is a signal?
Let me tell you a story. Do you know a company called Costco?
I may have heard about them.
Trader Joe's, maybe?
That sounds a little more familiar.
When a food brand wants to launch a new cheese or like salami below, I don't know, in the US, they don't go to Times Square and run a billboard, right? They use a sample tray.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
Right? They stand and they check how people, if they take a small bite, if they throw it, if they eat the whole thing, if they come back to get some more.
Right.
That's for me signals. Right?
Okay.
How can we do the same thing, and test some micro signals in the field, in the actual space?
And especially in fields that are not, in a sense like food, right? Which is a lot easier to test in that sense.
Let's see if your tray is empty by the end of the experiments, and that's going to be super helpful for us, right? So if we do that, there are things that a startup company or any company can do as their simple tray.
Right.
That's what I mean when I say signals.
And does that involve budget, or does that sometimes involve other techniques? How does that work?
So I think it's going to help you make the most out of your budget, because instead of going to LinkedIn and run your experiments there, spending $5,000 on an campaign just to test things out and see how okay, let's change the creative, let's change the copy. Test the copy before you run the campaign. Okay.
Right.
Do some, we can go into the actual tactics of what you can do, but I mean, there are ways to kind of test the water before you actually dive in.
Okay, so let's dive in for it.
Okay.
So what is like an initial tactic, for example, that let's say maybe a lot of people overlook that could give you certain signals that don't require a huge budget and still move that needle for you to make a decision with your budget down the line?
Yeah. So the first thing I would say is probably thought leadership.
Okay.
And
what does that mean? Because everyone says thought leadership, right? That's the biggest thing today, right?
I think there was it's in the past year, probably close to a year ago, I think there's a big company, global leader in, online payments.
Okay.
And they posted a position for essentially it was like head of CEO content.
Okay.
And it came right after a big research about companies are more inclined to buy things from companies where their CEO is very involved and active.
So basically, like if, like in a sense, if they see the person leading the company and they like them, they're more likely to buy from them.
Yes, and that person is an expert. He's writing about different things. So I think the most effective way to test signals is using CEO thought leadership. Okay, it's not just posts on LinkedIn. At the end of the day, you want to use the LinkedIn profile of the CEO is like an experiment. It's like a lab. Let's see. He's not trying to sell a product for $50,000 on LinkedIn, but he's trying to give audience like a small bite of his knowledge and insights, just to see if the American market, for example, for that matter, is able to swallow that. Okay. And I think that if you're getting positive, good signals, you get a lot of engagement. People share it and they save the post. You can see if they saved it, right? If they comment, that's a good sign. Okay, let's see what was the shared commonalities of the most successful post. And those
if
posts.
If they DM you afterwards.
Yes. It's pieces of content, right? Like if you write a whole blog post and it's going to die on your website, that's one thing. But if you take pieces of information and share them with the world, assuming you have some audience and you already connected with some people. So at the end of the day, that's a great experiment to run.
And you could do this, for example, on LinkedIn, but you could also do this elsewhere. You could do this on Twitter, for example, if that's what you're good on, or Instagram, depending on who you're going for, in a sense.
I would go to Twitter once you feel like you have some experience with that, because you should be way more responsive on Twitter.
Oh, well, for sure. Like, that's even going granular here, right? But I'm just saying, like, in terms of a research tool, because really what you're talking here is like this research tool. This is how you kind of take certain bite-sized pieces of information. Maybe it's about your solution. Maybe it's about the problem you're solving. Maybe it's about what you know about how to solve the problem, and kind of putting it out there and seeing if it resonates with someone, if they're willing to engage with that. To me, that's pure research, at the end of the day, because back in, a major company might use a focus group. This is a way of doing kind of a decentralized focus group. And so, would you recommend outside of LinkedIn, outside of Twitter, other ways that a company could do this and kind of test the waters? Because, let's be honest, social media is not for everyone. Sometimes it's also not really the place where, as we've talked about before, it's not always where the audience is. And so the engagement may not even be there. And that's same thing, same thing for Twitter and Instagram and so on. So what else can a founder do to kind of do this type of, research?
So again, in the realm of the U.S. market, I think analyst relations is important. We talked in previous episodes about building the infrastructure, work on that credibility. This one is for the long run. Okay. And when I say analyst relations, I'm not talking about necessarily Gartner or Forrester. It's not for everyone. It's not just for enterprise companies. But startups and companies don't really know that, but you can do analyst briefings for free. Right? You reach out to them. They want to hear about this, right? Not everyone are going to pay. It doesn't mean that they're going to put you in their research, but you're going to talk to them. You're going to listen to what they have to say. You see if what you're saying is interesting for them, innovative, not even in the game, or it's, what you're doing is against what we're hearing from everyone. So that's one thing. But those analysts can be, you need to be the mayor of your town. Okay, so if you're in industry X, you want to know, okay, these are the analysts, these are the influencers. Okay, there are people that, used to be analysts, now they have their own consulting firm. They talk to the industry about different things. Go
they have
talk to
following.
them. Yes, they have followers, they have podcasts, they have different. Go talk to them. Learn as much as you can. You don't need to test it. You can hear from them because they already tested the water. So this is something about the infrastructure that people need to do from the get-go. And those conversations can, as opposed to LinkedIn, this can be done in private, right? But it means someone needs to sit down and track the right people and map them out. It's a part of the, let's say, go-to-market plan. Who are the influencers? Who are the stakeholders in the industry that I need to make sure that they know about me and that I know about them, so that when the time is right, I can reach out. Okay, so 2 thoughts that, people can do. No budget. Very, very lean.
The other thing that you kind of got me thinking about right now is actually like another thing that I think people don't always consider as also being a great way of doing research is conferences and kind of networking meetups, right? Even a conference in America is even great, because then you can even go there. You can actually be in the room with people, go around the booths and just talk to people. And in a sense, it's almost better that way, because if you're going to the conference and you're not selling and you just want to learn, you get like immense insight.
It's the source.
Yeah, because these are the guys. First of all, you put all the guys, all the players in the room. You go to all of them. You're not selling anything, so guess what? They actually want to talk to you.
Yeah.
And you can just kind of figure it out, on the fly.
I think I've been to over 35 conferences.
I'm sorry.
Back in Boston. For me, it was easy because there's I'm not talking about the best conferences, because for me, when you live in the US, there are like smaller conferences everywhere, small, medium-sized businesses conference. I don't know, real estate conference.
Even like specific ones, this neighborhood conference, that city conference.
Not something that you would go to Las Vegas for, right?
Sure.
But for me, it was like, throw the pop-up banner in the boot, in the trunk, and drive to, I don't know, Pittsfield.
Yeah.
So, but I think that for Israelis, something that we don't understand, and I include myself in it, full transparency, the networking and, conference talk is a little different.
Yeah.
Because you'd see really nice people. They walk around in the conference with their, Toomey backpack, and they come over to you and they're super nice. Yeah. But they'll ask you tough questions straight up.
Yeah.
And if you don't know how to answer that, I mean, it probably goes back from college and the corporate world in the US. It's kind of different. So something that I think you can learn a lot, but you need to be ready. If you have a booth in a conference, people are going to ask you tough questions. Yeah. It goes back to credibility. Why would I take a risk with you? What is your product? Right. You need to be able to explain that in 30 seconds.
Sure. Right. So, I mean, I guess that's also like a little bit of a different way of also approaching a conference, right? If you come and you go and you actually put up a booth, that's one way of kind of testing the water. And then there's another way where you can also go and be that participant with the Toomey bag, where you go and you ask those guys. Yeah, it's cheaper. And guess what? You still learn a lot because you can go, you can bring your solution. You can say, hey, I'm in this field, whatever. And you go to the guys, you approach them, and like they're not going to have really any reason not to engage with you. Yeah. Now, I guess, one of the things I think when it comes to the go-to-market strategy that a lot of people use, so, they have the research, but then when they have that research, I think sometimes there can be a disconnect between understanding how to act on that research, right? What does it actually mean? Now that you have, a clear understanding of where you need to sit it, your positioning, who your ICP is, who you're targeting, and kind of their problems and what you're going to do to actually create content or sales or whatever to actually answer that. How do you then go about kind of like, at the end of the day, you have your research, but research just gives you a general good backing to your hypothesis about what you're going to do. How do you actually go about then moving to that stage of implementation? Yeah, and I've been meaning to ask you that question. I mean, if you have you're working with a company, right? Yeah. Now we've done the research. Now they have their, I don't know, $10,000, $20,000 that they want to invest in the US market. Yeah. Right. And you're looking at the map and you've got some, you've done the work. Now you can say, okay, first of all, I think the first thing is like, we know we have alternatives. Yeah. It's not like we have to go to LinkedIn first. Yeah, sure. Okay. We thought about doing one major conference. It's very expensive, but we realized that, maybe we should start with the secondary market. Now we can do 2 or 3 conferences. Sure. They're cheaper. We can do it around the same time. So we can learn and do that a lot. Sure. Maybe you learn that now, I don't know, awards are interesting because we've seen that, finance, banking, payroll, very insurance even. You need credibility. It's your ticket in. Yeah. You can't buy your way into this one. That goes back to the whole trust discussion. Yeah. So maybe we should, again, not expensive. Let's see if we can get those awards. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so kind of like finding how you can put yourself, nominate yourself, go to these smaller conferences. What awards are going to move the needle? Do we have industry-specific awards that we can go after? Do we have general business awards we can go after? I can tell you that, I think there's a huge difference in here, but Israelis tend to disregard business awards. And I think it's very important because A, it's relatively cheap. Yeah. B, the impact is huge. Okay. And C, everyone likes to be on a list. Yes. Everyone loves it. It's better to win. Yeah. But again, if you can do the research, and I've got a great story about this because I was a VP marketing at a company that was acquired. And I was pushing for a business award all the time. The CEO at the time of the company didn't understand what I was doing. Okay. But after the company was acquired,
We had like a big meeting in the signing, and they showed us what they showed their investors, why they loved the deal. And they had like a 2x2.
Yeah.
And one of them was, the awards
award?
we won.
Wow.
And they said, we love the awards. We actually won some of those. So, you put it on the website, the salespeople like it. Sure. It helps you close the sale. So, and again, it's, I don't know, $600-$700 to apply.
Yeah.
If you do a good job, you increase your chances of winning. So I think that's also a channel you can invest some funds into.
And is it easy at the start, or should you do that down the line?
I would try to do it as early as possible.
Because you never knows what you can get.
I mean, it's
because you could be that emerging startup, for example, or whatever, emerging tech.
Listen, there are so many different awards and so many verticals in them, right? Tech of the year, most innovative, emerging.
From different companies, different lists. Yeah, sure.
Different sizes.
Yeah.
Okay, you can be, I don't know, diamond for innovative under 100 employees. But then there's the same thing for under 500.
Right.
So
you can be in Dunn's list, you could be in Tech Behemoth's list, you could be in Design Rush list.
And no one cares.
Yeah.
It just, your name is out there.
Right.
And again, that's a part of the credibility and trust. So start as early as possible. If you win, you put it on the one pager on the website, right into the case study, right into the testimonial. Again, which is free. Okay, you wanted to send, I've seen founders and CEO that create like success stories, but it's them talking.
Interesting.
Again, with their broken English.
Right.
You're in the back seat. No one cares about you. We care about
your clients and your clients. Right.
So if you wanted to send a, I don't know, $2,000 production team to your best client, your champion in New York, and it's like $2,500. Now you think, okay, that's going to move the needle better than spending those $2,500 on LinkedIn. Do it.
Yeah. So I see. It's like kind of trying to understand where you can move the needle. It's almost like experimenting, especially in the first, let's say, 6 months of your go-to-market strategy. It's kind of figuring out what you can move the needle with. Maybe it's an award. Maybe it's smaller conferences. Maybe it's going to a client that you've been able to help, or your champion who you've been able to already connect with, a pilot partner or whatever, and getting their testimonial. But it kind of sounds like you need to be willing to experiment, which I think is hard for a lot of founders because, listen, you have a financial plan. Financial plan tells you this is where you're going. Not a lot of experiments, right? You have a legal contract. Legal contract tells you what you're delivering, what the person has to offer you. It's very clear, right? Even product. We need to get to this milestone, that milestone, that milestone. If it breaks along the way, we go back to step one, but you figure out how to proceed. This is different because you kind of have to see, hey, maybe this tactic will work here, but it won't work here. Maybe this tactic will work in this situation, but it won't work there. So how do you kind of help founders, I guess, get over that initial kind of, hesitation to actually try? Because, it's easy for us to say, well, I have to try. And they're going to be like, yeah, but you just wasted $20,000 of my money.
Well, if you're talking about return on investment, you talk to them straight up. It's like, let's say you have a pie of $20,000. Now you can, chop it into, I don't know, 5 or 6 different activities. You don't have to throw everything on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And you're probably not going to spend $20,000 on LinkedIn straight up, right? You're going to spend it over time.
Yeah.
So you're saying, okay, let's do this, and this at the same time. So now you're doing LinkedIn, that's awareness.
Yeah.
But the second phase is going to be, that's where awards and the testimonial video comes from. Okay. So I think it's going to resonate with them, but that's after you've done discovery. So I think if you go into this process of working with someone for 2-3 months, now they listen to you. Now there's a, portion of education, I want to say. I know it's going to sound bad, but sometimes you have to do some coaching about this is how it works. And it's very tough because technology people, founders, software companies, we all live in LinkedIn.
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
So that's what you see all the time. You see those successes metrics, I would say. Oh, so many likes, so many comments. So it's content, but it doesn't bring sales.
Right, it doesn't bring leads.
So what does? Okay, so let's go.
Right.
Go to the conference, talk to people. You're going to hear the same thing.
Right.
Okay. We're not magicians, you and I.
Yeah.
We're talking out of experience, out what is actually working.
Right.
If you go to enterprise company, you'll see that they have it. So many awards all the time. G2, reviews, testimonials.
Of course.
So
it sounds like, really that there has to be, this type of experimentation only comes after discovery. And that's, I think it goes back to earlier points that we've talked about in other episodes, which it's, you have to understand who you're selling to in the American market, very specifically within the context of America, within the context of cultural nuances in America as well. And then only then do you start experimenting, and that's where your ROI comes back into focus. You're putting money on LinkedIn to test certain messaging. You're going to conferences to get more in depth with your people. You're going and finding, once you get some partners or whatever, going to them and getting testimonials so you can reuse that content. These are obviously some tactics amongst many, in the book, but that's what it is.
Yeah, it goes back to those quick wins, right? Maybe you apply to this award and you win. This is something that you can happily share on LinkedIn, right? As opposed to I see companies right now that are using the AI type of person talking about their product as if it's a real person. No one cares about this.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, but if you push your award, if you push that you're shortlisted, if you push your client talking about how great you are,
or the work you've done with your client.
Yeah, now we're doing LinkedIn. You want to do LinkedIn? We're doing LinkedIn. But we're not just pushing sales all the time.
Yeah, we're doing other things.
Credibility. We push trust. Sure. We push success.
And we see what works. We see what sticks.
But we have something to push.
Uh-huh.
So that's kind of where I'm going with this.
Now, what you would have to say, and this is my kind of last question for you right now, is this. At the end of the day, there's always this discussion of, okay, so, we've done the discovery. Now we're experimenting. Okay, we find what works. Mm-hmm. Now let's spend our money.
Double down.
Right, and let's go for it. What's the threshold?
I want to say sales, right? I want to say marketing influenced pipeline.
Okay.
Are we seeing any changes in this? And you need to be very smart about this, right? Let's say we've won a few awards.
Yeah.
Okay. And we have a few power users.
Sure.
American, they're happy to, they're happy campers. Right? Another American terminology.
Yeah, exactly. I was wondering if you're going to even say that.
They're happy campers. Now, what do you do with it? You need to make sure that the sales team is aware that they have it in their deck, that they have a cadence who's like, we have a second call with this client, or even the first call. I want them to come to the call after they know and acknowledge that we won this award, that we have, I don't know, the SOC 2 compliance, that they know that Bank of America is our client. It's going to be a different call. Okay. Are we able to shorten the sales cycle because of those pieces of content that we're able to create?
Right. Do we feel validation that we were able to drive for our business? Right.
So if we're seeing that pushing those things on LinkedIn are now making the metrics that we looked on before, and they make an impact on them, you can increase the budget. Feel free, but tell me why.
I like that.
Okay. Tell me why.
And for the next episode, we're going to talk about even very specifically geography-wise how you can enter and how that budget comes into play.
Yes.